Chapter 7, Ebola. Ethan Huff writes about an airborne Ebola virus being used in a plan to kill 90% of the population, in which a professor received a standing ovation from scientists. He highlights a report by Australian journalist John Ballantyne, in which a professor named Erik Pianka told his audience that the best way to kill off 90% of the human population would be to spread an airborne version of the virus, to which he received the ovation. According to Ballantyne, Pianka opened up the meeting with a series of statements, so disturbing about population control, that they were censored from video captured at the event. Ballantyne said that Pianka basically likened humans to bacteria during his rant, claiming that we are destroying the planet and that humans need to be culled in mass numbers. It sounds like something one of the agents said in the excellent film The Matrix. Ballantyne, writing for News Weekly, wrote Pianka argued that the sharp increase in the human population since the onset of industrialization was destroying the planet. He warned that Earth would not survive unless its human population was reduced to a tenth of its present number. This speech was given in 2006 at the 109th meeting of the Texas Academy of Science. He proposed the idea of weaponizing Ebola reston to be able to travel through the air rather than just through fluids. In his view, Ebola was a much better option, as AIDS takes too long to kill off its victims. Ballantyne said his preferred method of exterminating over 5 billion humans was via airborne Ebola reston, because it is both highly lethal and kills its victims in days rather than years. Ballantyne watched the standing ovation himself by scientists. Unsurprisingly, in recent times, there has been an Ebola outbreak in West Africa which matches this potential plan. The strains that are spread are transmissible through surfaces and airborne microdroplets, and the death rate is high. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, say that droplet spread happens when germs traveling inside droplets that are coughed or sneezed from a sick person enter the eyes, nose or mouth of another person. Dr. Sean Carlson, writing in The Citizen Scientist, said, "I believe, with the terrible experience of the bloodiest century in human history behind us, that all men and women of conscience in the 21st century must be proactive in our opposition to genocidal or apocalyptic philosophies, before they have the chance to inspire some new champion with the will to take their conclusions to the next step." Mentioning Ebola, Aaron and Melissa Dykes write about a professor, inventor, and genetic engineer that believes that the film Contagion has the answers. In February 2012, Dr. Charles Untson, head of the Biodicin Institute for Infectious Diseases and Vaccinology, was talking at Arizona State University Biotech Department, joked about wiping out 25% of the population with a genetically engineered virus. He responded to a question pertaining to whether feeding the 8 billion people of the world was worth it or whether population reduction should be pursued. He responded by saying, "Has anybody seen Contagion? That's the answer. Go out and use genetic engineering to create a better virus. 25% of the population is supposed to go in Contagion." The Dykes comment that Dr. Untson was the first to pursue an edible vaccine for use in the developing world whilst at Boyce Thompson Institute in 1996, that was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. His signature delivery vehicle is the banana, they say. Untson noted the potential for use in both poor countries and the West, and said that children of developing countries may not be the only beneficiaries of this new technology. American kids will also probably prefer being vaccinated by an edible vaccine rather than by a needle. A news report from Arizona State University also said that if early efforts bear fruit, an Ebola vaccine could be stockpiled for use in the United States. should the country fall victim to a natural outbreak or a bioterrorism event in which a weaponized strain of the virus were unleashed on soldiers or the public. This would fall under grants provided from the Department of Defense and the Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. The Vigilant Citizen blog commented on the message of the film Contagion and said the film was produced with the active cooperation of the CDC, the World Health Organization and other government organizations, and its function is clear: to present a hyper-realistic disaster scenario to justify the vaccination campaigns promoted by these agencies while discrediting those who criticize them. Everything in Contagion is made to be as realistic as possible to make the story plausible, and as frightening to the masses as possible. In truth, Deep Africa is viewed by the power elite as the collective waste station of planet Earth. As for human lives and the wealth of animal and plant species still struggling to survive upon that continent, surely you recognize the token efforts being undertaken by your United Nations organizations as little more than political anodyne for the suffering there. Despite the gestures of aid for Africa being touted as the humanitarian efforts of your global governments, almost nothing is being done to save the dying and prevent the killing in these abandoned worlds. We remind you, too, that Black Africa has long been a test tube for the refinement of laboratory-created superviruses, those that are known to you, such as Ebola and AIDS, and others, such as the West Nile virus, that are only now beginning to surface. This is a quote by Patricia Corey.